must be seated. Failure to do so will result in a warning and/or removal from the meeting. Before we move to item number 1, I'd like to say a few words. For more than a week, Los Angeles and this department has been on the international stage. My fellow commissioners and I have watched the situation unfold in real time within the Emergency Operations Center, command posts, communication centers, and other locations. As with many Angelenos and a large majority of our workforce, the events have greatly affected all of us. This is a crisis that Los Angeles and this department did not ask for, but nonetheless, here we are. My fellow commissioners and I fully support Angelenos' right to exercise their First Amendment right to protest. The majority of Angelenos have done so without incident. It is erroneous to espouse that the act of disagreeing and openly protesting is not the behavior of law-abiding people. It is. However, as daily peaceful protests wind down, there's been a small group that has deliberately worked to counteract the message of organizers and protesters and enable detractors to falsely label protesters as violent criminals. This small group has vandalized buildings and businesses throughout the downtown Civic Center, burglarized and looted private businesses, many small independently operated stores, and thrown projectiles at officers, members of the media, and other protesters. This behavior is not acceptable, it will not be tolerated, and it does not further worthy the cause that so many are rallying for in our city. If you are engaging in this disruptive behavior, you do not care about the rights of immigrants, you do not care about the sovereignty of the state of California, and you certainly don't care about the city of Los Angeles. I echo the Chief, Sheriff Luna, our mayor, that you will be held accountable for the disruption caused. I'd like to take this time to thank the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, the California Highway Patrol, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and many local agencies that provided mutual aid. The Los Angeles Police Department is well equipped to handle the many concerns that arise in a city the size of Los Angeles. But it is nice to know that when assistance is required, our neighboring law enforcement agencies do not hesitate. Like so many of you, we have watched extensive coverage of protests, evening unrest, and the many interactions of members of the public and media with LAPD officers. Although most interactions were uneventful and without note, there are some that we have seen that are of concern. The process for investigating and potentially disciplining officers is complex in the state of California and the city of Los Angeles.
So when it comes to protesters,
there'll be one person speaking. Thank you.
Complicated.
Sir, you're disrupting the meeting.
I know.
That's your first and only warning.
I got you.
Neither the commission or the chief of police have the authority to immediately terminate officers. As you may have seen in other cities and states, without due process afforded to them as members of the civil service system in the city of Los Angeles and the peace officers in the state of California. That said, these complaints will be investigated, with discipline applied when and where appropriate. Categorical use of force will be adjudicated by this commission. Thus, we are, as individuals and a body, limited on the questions we can ask and comments that we can make ahead of those adjudications. I want to stress that a lack of a robust response today does not indicate an absolution for this behavior. Rather, it is respect to the duties prescribed to this commission and the oath of office that each commissioner swore to uphold. Today, during item number 1, the Chief's report, we will hear a full accounting of the events that have taken place in our city since Friday, June 6th, from the department's perspective. This will be the first time that this commission receives this information together as a board, and it will happen publicly here in front of you in real time. At the close of the Chief's report, my fellow commissioners and I will make comments and ask questions of the Chief. I want to note, as this is still an unfolding situation, a full review and a report on the department's overall performance during this time is not going to happen today. That will happen once this crisis is behind us, and this board, the members of the city council, and the mayor determine the best course of action for the review process. During item number 2 today, public comment, we will alternate between a speaker in the room and a speaker on Zoom. If necessary, we will extend the public comment period within reason to accommodate both in-person and Zoom speakers. With that, we move to item number 1, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief McDonald.
Good morning, President Suthers, Vice President Shields, Commissioners, Inspector General Barry. City Attorney De La Guerra, and Mr. Sibley. Today I'll be discussing significant events from the previous 2 weeks, providing a crime update, and discussing our personnel strength. First of all, let me begin by sincerely thanking the men and women, both sworn and civilian, of the Los Angeles Police Department. Over the past 11 days, our personnel have shown incredible resilience and dedication to this city. I'd also like to thank all of the partner agencies who came in under mutual aid. As you mentioned, the California Highway Patrol, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and many others. One night out there, we had 14 different agencies assisting in our efforts. So very, very thankful to be able to have a team approach that works so well together. These past days have been anything but typical. We faced very unorthodox and often dangerous conditions. Our folks have faced pepper sprays, smoke grenades, metal pipes, baseball bats, glass bottles, rocks, bricks, commercial grade fireworks, and Molotov cocktails being thrown at them. Some have faced vehicles and motorcycles used as weapons, skateboards and scooters used to attack, and even traffic signs hurled in their direction. There were makeshift spike strips, some of it with nails and battery-powered blowers used to push CS gas back in our lines. These are tactics no officer should have to face, but they did, and they held the line. They did it with restraint, with professionalism, and with a sense of duty. It didn't end when the shift did. Many missed Father's Day, many didn't have a full night's rest throughout the whole event, but they showed up and they protected this city. To our community, I want you to know we see you, we hear you, and we respect your right to be heard. Peaceful protest is part of the fabric of this nation, but we must be clear, violence is not protest. Los Angeles has been through difficult moments before, and just like before, we'll get through this together. So while all of this unrest goes on, police work still continued throughout the rest of the city, dealing with some very significant incidents, which I'll go through now. On June 3rd, at approximately 10 p.m., Olympic Patrol Division uniformed officers responded to a radio call of an assault with a deadly weapon, shots fired, at an apartment complex located in the 1000 block of Ardmore Avenue. As the officers were exiting the complex, the suspect, later identified as Ronald Gaynor Jr., appeared from an apartment while armed with a firearm, and an officer-involved shooting occurred. Gaynor was struck by gunfire at the street and was taken into custody a short time later without further incident. The LA City Fire Department transported Gaynor to a local hospital where he was pronounced deceased. It was later determined that earlier in the evening, Gaynor was involved in a domestic violence incident with his girlfriend, who fled the apartment. Gaynor then exited the apartment and discharged a firearm in the air and in an adjacent apartment building, prompting a radio call. No officers or community members were injured during this incident. A blue steel Smith & Wesson M&P 40 caliber semi-auto handgun, empty magazines, discharged cartridge cases were recovered at scene and booked as evidence. An additional handgun, magazine, and ammunition were recovered from within the apartment. Force Investigation Division investigators, along with representatives from the California Department of Justice, responded to the scene and are investigating the incident. June 5th, another officer-involved shooting, also in Olympic Division. About 9 in the morning, Olympic Patrol responded to a radio call of again assault with a deadly weapon suspect in the area of Western and Washington. The comments of the call indicated that the suspect was pointing a mini shotgun at passing vehicles. On arrival, officers observed the suspect, later identified as Roberto Gonzalez Flores, on the north sidewalk of 18th Street. Flores was holding an object that resembled a sawed-off shotgun. Officers issued multiple commands to drop the weapon, which Flores disregarded. Flores then walked to the south sidewalk, concealed the weapon in his waistband. A short time later, he removed the weapon and pointed in the direction of the officers, resulting in an officer-involved shooting. Flores was struck by gunfire and subsequently taken into custody without further incident. The LA Fire Department transported Flores to a local hospital where he received treatment for his injuries. The investigation determined that the weapon in Flores' possession was a metal pipe and had been modified to resemble a sawed-off shotgun. The item was collected and seen and booked as evidence. No officers or community members were injured as a result of this incident, and Force investigators responded to the scene and are conducting the investigation. On Friday, June 6th, 2025, the LAPD entered a citywide tactical alert following the immediate unrest triggered by ICE operations in the downtown area. This escalation allowed us to rapidly mobilize resources, suspend routine shift changes, and focus efforts on public safety and crowd management. By the evening of Saturday, June 7th, in response to continued unrest and property damage, Mayor Karen Bass enacted an emergency curfew for portions of downtown Los Angeles. The curfew was in effect daily from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and applied to all individuals within the designated perimeter, with exceptions only for emergency personnel and those traveling to and from work and attending various nearby events such as the Disney Concert Hall and Dodger games. As of last night, the curfew hours have been modified to 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and officers continue to monitor compliance to maintain order and reduce the potential for overnight disturbances. The situation continues to evolve and tactical alert remains in place, and operational decisions are being reviewed and adjusted based on daily intelligence assessments and regional activity. On June 13th, 9 in the morning, there was a SWAT call out for a barricaded ADW with a firearm suspect, 600 block of West 78th Street, the 77th Division. Officers responded to an ADW shooting call with a suspect believed to be armed inside the residence. Patrol officers heard one shot fired inside the location and contacted the suspect, but he refused to exit. SWAT responded and initiated a crisis negotiation team. However, there was no response. A 48-millimeter tactical discharge to the front door was conducted. The suspect began firing his handgun at officers from inside the residence. SWAT officers deployed gas into the residence and used less lethal munitions to subdue Andrews and take him into custody when he exited. He was booked for attempted murder. On June 14th, about 6 p.m., LAPD deployed officers along with multiple other law enforcement agencies responded to the mass protests that were occurring in downtown LA. During a crowd control mobile field force operation, LAPD officers established a skirmish line. Later identified suspect broke through the skirmish line, and an officer assigned to 77th discharged one round from a 40-millimeter at the suspect, and a law enforcement-related injury occurred. Suspect was taken into custody without further incident. Officers requested a rescue ambulance and was transported into a local hospital. Suspect was admitted for an injury to the back of his head. Force Investigation Division investigators are investigating the incident. No other community members or officers were injured as a result of this incident. Year to date, we've had 19 officer-involved shootings compared to 16 at this time last year. A good burglary arrest in anticipation of potential looting activity. Operation West Bureau proactively developed a plan utilizing both shadow teams and uniformed resources to cover high-priority locations identified by each division. As a result of this targeted effort, 9 individuals were arrested for burglary-related crimes, all residents of South Los Angeles. On June 10th, Operations West Bureau received information from the Street Racing Task Force regarding a group associated with a street takeover planning to meet near Marathon Clothing Store on Beverly Boulevard. OWB responded quickly, deploying resources from our Gun Violence Reduction Task Force, along with detectives and uniformed officers to monitor the location. Approximately 25 vehicles were observed arriving, and officers were able to document several vehicles and associated license plates. During the operation, 2 separate burglary calls were dispatched around 11:30 p.m. Wilshire officers responded to both scenes. At the first location on South La Brea Avenue, officers took 4 suspects into custody and were found in possession of stolen property from a business that had been burglarized earlier that same day. The individuals had extensive criminal histories, including charges such as attempted murder, robbery, and firearms violation. They were also confirmed to be associated with a known street gang. At the second location, a red vehicle matching the description for a radio call was stopped by officers after being observed without license plates. Inside, officers found burglary tools, including power saws, hammers, pry bars, ski masks, and gloves. 4 suspects were taken into custody for conspiracy to commit a felony. Each had significant prior arrests, including violent and property crimes. Shortly after these arrests, Operations West Bureau personnel monitoring the original gathering observed a group of 25 vehicles leaving the area. Officers followed a commercial van believed to be involved, and a stop was conducted by the Street Racing Task Force personnel. The driver was arrested for possession of burglary tools, again which included power saws, grinders, sledgehammers, and a police scanner. He too had an extensive criminal history. Information on all arrests was promptly shared with OWB watch commanders and neighboring jurisdictions for awareness. Coordination between OWB and Detective Bureau is ongoing to identify additional crimes involving these suspects. On the crime picture overall for the 4 weeks looking, LAPD recorded an overall 7.3% decrease in combined person and property crimes compared to the previous 4-week period. Persons crimes, however, increased 6.6%, while property crimes dropped significantly, down by 11.2%. Homicides remained down year-to-date by 28.9%, with 41 fewer lives lost compared to this time in 2024. However, in the most recent 4-week period, homicides did have an uptick, 9 more cases, driven by notable increases in 77th, Central, and Hollenbeck. Victims shot are down 14.5% year-to-date. Aggravated assaults did rise 9.2%. Robberies rose slightly, just under 1%. And burglaries declined by 15.1%. Motor vehicle theft decreased by 11.5%. And our overall personnel strength numbers, sworn personnel as of June 16th is 8705. Civilian professional staffing is at 2664, and reserve officers stand at 358. That concludes my report to the commission this morning, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to reserve any comments or questions to the last today, and I'm going to refer to Vice President Shield. President Shield.
Thank you, President Southers, and thank you, Chief, for the report, and thank you for your leadership in navigating us through a very challenging time for the city of Los Angeles. People are understandably outraged and hurt by these ongoing immigration raids. There's an orderly way to arrest people who have committed crimes or violated the immigration laws. That happens daily. But what we have seen unfold in Los Angeles by this administration is not that. The shock and awe approach is a heartless political stunt that uses our military and law enforcement partners as political pawns to create unnecessary fear and terror in citizens and non-citizens alike. My heart goes out to all those impacted, and I'm sorry that when many of you went to the streets to voice your legitimate concern and outrage, other opportunists used your pain as a platform to destroy and vandalize our city and attack our officers. To the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, I'm sorry that you've been stuck in the middle of this political nonsense. I'm sorry that as you try to do your job, you have to deal with people throwing Molotov cocktails, professional-grade fireworks, cinder blocks, rocks, and bottles at you. There is no justification for attacking law enforcement, and I hope every person who did so is found and prosecuted. And I'm sorry that as a department, the LAPD is often judged not by the hundreds of hours of restraint and professionalism by hundreds of officers, but by a handful of video snippets replayed over and over again, some without full context. To be clear, there will be a full investigation and accountability into these isolated incidences, but they should not overshadow the tremendous work done by so many of you in the department throughout the last several days to control the chaos that was not of your making. Your efforts and sacrifices have not gone unnoticed. Thank you. Now, Chief, there have been accusations that the department has assisted ICE with immigration raids. Can you explain the difference when LAPD may be required to respond to a true emergency help call versus actually assisting in immigration?
Yeah, I think we've tried to be very clear all along, and it goes back to 1979 with change in the policy manual at that time. It's been the policy since that time that we don't engage in civil immigration enforcement. That's just not what we do. So as we've tried to be as clear as we can to provide a reduction in the anxiety in many of our communities, we have maintained our posture. We'll continue to maintain that posture as we move forward. In the case of the immigration enforcement that's being done by the federal agencies that you see out there, ICE leading the way, if there's an incident where somebody needs help, somebody is being assaulted, it doesn't matter who they are, the LAPD will respond, assess the situation, and provide help as much as we can. We are not there to assist in the enforcement efforts for immigration. but we are there to provide a level of public safety for everybody in the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you. And yes, if anyone in the city ever needs help, LAPD responds, it doesn't matter who they are. President Southers, if it's okay with you, I know that the Inspector General has been meeting with community leaders. Can I ask Mr. Barragan to quickly explain what his office is hearing and the ongoing role of their office is playing?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioners. The Office of the Inspector General has been actively monitoring the situation and engaging with stakeholders in the community, including civil rights, immigrants' rights, and faith-based groups, among others. Many of their concerns relate to the perception of LAPD assisting in immigration raids and the use of force on protesters, as well as First Amendment right concerns. The OIG will continue to review all serious uses of force by LAPD officers and remain a point of contact for any complaint of misconduct against an LAPD employee. As a reminder, complaints can be filed anonymously. Thank you.
I have a couple of other questions, but I want to be mindful of my time and my commissioner's time, so please.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Talking to the mic every time with this
I
thing.
think that
Thank you.
the Commissioner
Every time.
Shields has expressed many of the sentiment that I share with her. Chief, I want to thank you for your report, and I know that there's a lot more that you will be reporting in the future, and we all look forward to that. As for the peaceful demonstrations that our city has seen, I want to encourage those peaceful demonstrations to let your voice be heard. Our city is going through a lot, and I think that this is a historic and a watershed moment for our city. We need to be vigilant, and we need to be protective of those that are affected. For those that are disrupting and causing chaos and are not putting forth the message that our community wants to put forth in light of the raids in our city and the arrest in a manner that is totally unacceptable, I tell you that it is unacceptable to loot, to hurt our city, to hurt our officers, to hurt others, peaceful protesters. That is not the message of LA. We are not burning down. We don't need what we see in our city in the massive amount of destruction.
Yawn.
As for the comments of the Inspector General, I thank him for visiting different community groups.
I'm going to ask today,
and
Peter.
agencies that also are very
That's what I'm going to talk about today.
that we have seen
I'm going
in
to talk
our
about
city.
a
Thank you very
PPA.
much, and I concur with you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I've made my comments in my opening remarks. I'm not going to get into, as we discussed, the details of a number of incidents that were particularly not disturbing. So what I'm going to do is we'll move to item number 3 on the agenda, public comment.
There's just one more question, the chief, really quickly. One thing that I've heard about, given that the officers have been kind of doing round the clock deployments, and given the numbers that we have, how are we dealing with officer fatigue and wellness?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna ask, I'm gonna make the general demand out of the OIG, a general demand
And our hope is to be able to give
of a
them the breaks
PPA.
they need to be able to recoup, recover, and be able to get back to a more healthier lifestyle in the days ahead. My hat's off to them for the sacrifices that were made by our officers and their families throughout this whole time.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 3, public comment. Madam Secretary, please announce the first speaker.
The first speaker is Jonathan Foster.
Lord Jonathan Foster, may the Holy Ghost come into your heart. And so today on Malcolm Gus, I don't have a problem with that. Kalanche, she didn't supply her replacement, and so that's got to change. So the only thing I wanted to say about the riot is addressing the main problem that the LAPD takes, changing the city charter and changing qualified immunity with everything connected to it. So throwing chunks of solid concrete at the officers isn't going to change these aspects of Los Angeles. So I wanted to talk about the quote-unquote unfortunates. Rosario Mack, Wilbur Blanco, Takar Smith, Linda Becerra Moron, and Yang Yang. And not to lose focus right now, there's a lot of distractions, right? And so this mentally ill murder is still going to go on. I call it the unfortunates. It still needs improvement here. And I guess so this one here.
Either the training's wrong, but when people in the same circumstance, with the same training, respond the exact same way at the same time, I can understand that.
So he just okayed that they could shoot Wilbur Blanco 10 times. Huntington Park shot a double amputee 10 times. I've seen this on Dr. Rashid Ricky, We the People, civil rights lawyer, and the audit on YouTube. So it's taught me a lot about this. So what I wanted to get back to was about Yang Yang. Okay, so they went in. They told Yang Yang put the knife down. If you go back and listen to the recording, Yang Yang said, "All right, put the knife down. Put the knife." Oh, he said, "All right," and then they shot him. Go back and listen to the recording. Yang Yang said, "All right." It's not the police officer saying "all right." Yang Yang said "all right." He was starting to comply, and they already know we're dealing with a mentally ill person. We've done this since 1970, since I was born. You've been blowing mentally ill people right into death. And so who is going to stop this? Are you going to become legendary? I've given you the opportunity to become legendary. Anybody want to step into that? Right. So, and then they let Yang Yang bleed to death. They didn't call the medics, right? So this is really tough, and I think that we can improve. We need improvement here, right? So there's a lot of riots going on, but they're going to do this next week, next 2 weeks, next month. This is going to keep coming up. So the training's got to change, right? And I think that maybe if smart people got in and redid this, maybe wouldn't mentally murdered and mentally ill people.
Thank you.
Next, we have defend the LAPD.
Hello, good morning. All items, please. Commissioners, just days before these riots began, I released a full report found at defendthelapd.org outlining LAPD's readiness issues, broken command structure, and lack of frontline support. I know each of you received a copy in chief. I know you read it too. What happened last week was not a peaceful protest. It was a riot, and based on accounts from those on the ground, your own employees, the LAPD failed to respond effectively. Not because of the officers, but because of leadership. We didn't respond when we should have or in time. Officers were attacked with rocks, bottles, and explosives, and faced that violence with inadequate equipment, little support, and indecisive leadership. Starting Monday, the breakdown became undeniable. Every LAPD radio frequency is recorded. Go listen to them. Their confusion, hesitation, and failure in leadership. Long gaps of silence. Airship pilots making repeated pleas for help and direction only to hear nothing in return. The incident commanders were lying to officers, telling them arrests couldn't be made due to a lack of jail space, when in fact hundreds of beds are available. They put politics and optics ahead of officer and community safety. The moment protesters started attacking officers, the situation should have been shut down. Why on earth, Chief, would you agree to allow your officers to take bottles, rocks, and explosives thrown at them for hours on end? The mayor was grandstanding that there were no arrests. That's because she ordered it. That put lives at risk and surrender control. The fact that Mayor Bass was physically stationed at the command post on that first Saturday is not just inappropriate, it's deeply concerning. Civilian oversight doesn't mean tactical interference. I don't care if she bought everyone El Pollo Locos. She has no place inside command post all day with her staff. Mayor Bass, City Council, and you, Chief, you created this mess. If you want to get ICE off the streets, then give them access to the jails. While were officers scrambling for gas masks and other Others issued expired masks. That's not miscommunication, that's negligence. You could shut down many of these protests by arresting those who blocked vehicles for false imprisonment. That's a crime, yet no one's educating the public or council about that. Interfering with arrest and politicians tipping off the public is obstruction of justice. Start saying that and start enforcing it. We have pepper ball guns, sting ball grenades, and full stingray dispersal kits sitting in storage unused because leadership is afraid of political optics. Officers are getting hurt while command staff try to look measured on camera. I've spoken to supervisors proud of their young officers. They were afraid and still stepped up, but they hesitated, not because they don't recognize danger, but because they've been conditioned not to act. They fear leadership more than the threats in front of them. Sanchez, Gordon, and Garcia, you show up on Tuesdays and leave this position demands more time and a real understanding of the complexities of law enforcement. You each have your own agenda, you should all resign. If you want to enforce the department of justice at the top, then stop pretending to matter at all. Thank you.
The next speaker is Baka Tanaka.
Put the cover back on. Put the mic cover back on.
Good morning. Chief, think I'm trying to share something about what I learned from the criminal justice courses. My professor told me that when you having your local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and federal law enforcement, when all three agencies at three different levels of law enforcement are having a same goal, that is how you provide best result of your law enforcement. But right now, what I'm seeing under the mayor, under your police commissioner, it seems like you are dedicating a huge amount of your effort to go against your law enforcement partner. So my concern is, in the future, thinking about that, if you continue to refuse to cooperate with ICE, with any federal law enforcement agency, in the future, when you having an active shooter, mass event, massacre event, whatever, that when you are asking the federal law enforcement partner to help you, you already burned the bridge. How are you expect them to helping you if you are refusing to help them? But I understand it's not up to you, it's up to your mayor and up to your commissioner. Second of all, I heard several of our commissioners talking about peaceful protest. I want to challenge, I want to invite every single of the commissioner who talking about peaceful protest. Why don't you go there on the street by yourself? Because I went there. I have witnessing that people, so-called rioter, you call it a protester, I call the rioter throwing bottles at LAPD officers. I have seen that the officer giving them 5 times warning, 10 times warning, they refuse to disperse. They refuse to leave. I have seen that somebody just out of nowhere taking over the street, standing right there without doing anything. And then all of those behaviors, so-called our police commissioners and our mayor, our city council, call it peaceful protest. So next time you call it a peaceful protest, why don't you go there? Because I was there. Avoid several bullets of the LAPD, so I know it was never peaceful at all. Third of all, I want to ask our Chief McDonald that I encourage you to watch. I think it's 3 or 4 days ago. There's a joint Florida Sheriff press conference. I want to quote you something. The Florida Sheriff said one thing said, if you step to our officers, I will make sure you end up in hospital before you end up in jail. If you throw an object to our officers, I will make sure you end up in hospital before you end up in jail. If you're pointing your weapon at any one of our officers, we will make sure we kill you. So I just want to know that there's a reason Black Lives Matter, looter, rioter, criminal, they can never do this in Florida. And you know exactly the reason why they can only do that in LA, they can never do that in Florida. Thank you, Chief.
That's fucking.
Steve Riley.
He's gonna run over to city council.
Hello?
What items would you like to speak on?
All items, please. Yes, I'm listening carefully to what Souther said. He said this is a crisis that LA did not ask for. In reality, you have been asking for this crisis, the crisis of lawlessness. Even here, in
The shrimp himself, yo.
we've seen this and have commented on it numerous times. Bad behavior, violations of rules, violations of law are not met with serious action. When you do not have consequences for crime, you get more crime. when you don't have consequences for rioting, you get more rioting. The false narrative that's been put forward is a disgrace. And what is that narrative? First of all, ICE should be doing their job. That's what the American people voted for. They have a right to do their job and not to be attacked either by our politicians or not to be supported by law enforcement, LAPD. Everybody knows Special Order 40. Everybody knows that LAPD is not involved in immigration enforcement. But when people come out and they obstruct ICE, attack ICE, and we've all seen it numerous times at a very serious degree, then arrests have to be made. It is unacceptable, but this behavior has been accepted and tolerated. Going back to when the St. Father Sarah statue was torn down at Olvera Street and there was no LAPD response. Who was behind that? Was that Mayor Bass making a phone call to the chief, to the captain, to the watch commander, telling them to stand down? Mayor Bass has a history of ordering the LAPD to stand down to the point where crime in progress is being witnessed and not acted upon by the LAPD rank and file. I know they're frustrated. I know that it's not them. It's the lack of leadership at the very top. The fish stinks from their head, and it's a bass, and that is the problem. Southerners mentioned the sovereignty of the state of California. What about the sovereignty of the United States of America? When people cross the border illegally, that is a federal misdemeanor crime. I quoted it here. Things need to be enforced. 287G program. Put ICE in the jail and have people transferred peacefully in a controlled environment. I second everything that defending LAPD said. There needs to be an investigation as to why there's a lack of response in many instances. We've seen crime go unabated. The violence, the graffiti, it has been a disgrace, and things need to change. I support law and order. I support the rank and file. I do not support looking away when crimes are committed. We need more ICE, more force, more arrests, and federal charges. Thank you, and God bless the LAPD. And God save Los Angeles.
The next speaker, please, Nayeli Miso.
Man, she just took a long way around. She could have just cut straight. Oh my God, that was so.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. First time doing this, so allow me to thank everybody, and I'm a little nervous.
Can you just lower the
Everybody-
mic?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Everybody who has made an effort to keep our city safe, to keep us together, to keep families together. I want to thank everybody who's been part of that. Thankfully, my family's still safe. My family's still together, but I know that many people are not. Many people are hurting. I want to look for solutions with you guys, so please tell me what the people can do so that we can keep families together. That's what I'm here for today. I want to know who to call, right? When my mom, who has papers, is not being snatched away because they decided suddenly that's the law. So please, if anybody has any ideas on listening, that's the whole reason why I'm here. Yeah. I think that's my time. Looking for resources, guys.
It's okay.
Oh, we have 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, there's a clock down there.
So yes, I would love to know what people we need to knock on, whose door we need to knock on, who we need to talk to make sure that our president does not violate the Constitution any longer with our own elected officials, with or people, with anybody. Like, I want to know what we could do. I'm happy. I was part of the peaceful protesters. I can't be mad at people, because they're angry. I don't know that I would want to open the gates of hell to if my family was taken. I would want to go looking for them, So, yeah, if you guys could help, I would greatly appreciate it. I am a citizen, I came here the right way. I did my effort. I paid my taxes at work. I helped my community. I want to thank you guys for helping yours. Just really looking for solutions here, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning, what items would you
Oh,
like to
some.
speak on?
All items if I can, please.
3 minutes.
Thank you so much. I just really sincerely, on behalf of the community, would like to thank every single LAPD officer and every law enforcement officer that was out there. Chief McDonald, we know we have the best in the world. We know the restraint these guys held. We know how they keep our neighborhoods safe, and it was absolutely heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to see these officers getting ambushed, getting overwhelmed and outnumbered, and the officers that were under the freeway bridge. For hours, those buffoons stood on the freeway bridge throwing rocks and fireworks and other things while the officers were trapped under there. Absolutely unacceptable. Chief McDonald, when an officer is ambushed, when this happens, you have to go scorched earth. This is not okay. These officers were worried about going home to their families and their newborn babies, their parents. Something more needs to be done. Please protect these officers that are out there risking their lives every day. To follow up on the other gentleman, the police chief in Florida held up 2 pictures. We know the difference. This is a peaceful protest. This is a riot. This is peaceful marching. This is looting. Enough of the excuses by saying, we know we have some bad apples. No, Mayor Bass, these are not bad apples. These are paid agitators. These are paid criminals. And these are paid idiots that wreak havoc on our city. And God bless the people in downtown and the businesses that are losing money. Downtown is a beautiful place to eat, to walk around, to take families. They've ruined us. Chief McDonald, I urge you, please be your own person, which you are. I've heard you in a couple of interviews and you are fantastic. Appreciate you. Please support these officers. If one bottle is thrown, if anything is tossed at them, bricks, bottles, anything, you know what? It has to be nipped in the bud right there because it was too late and the riots continued and they got bigger. Peaceful protesting is okay, but what happened in the last few days, not just LA was the worst of the worst because they can get away with it because it's been left for so long. We were a disgrace around the country and around the world. And the fireworks, I saw one video, an officer looked up and said, run, as he's looking up. It was like a bomb coming down on there. God bless the LA.
Next speaker, please, Mr. Herman.
Let's see which way he's gonna go. He's probably coming this way.
Morning. Good news is that Donald Trump made it happen. He made it work. While your mayor, your elected officials stood there with their hands between their legs while poor Jim was told not to do anything. Imelda Padilla, a councilwoman, told the chief of police to his face, "You're gonna do what I tell you to say, chief." No. There's a distinction between Trump, LAPD, and the sheriffs. Fuck City Hall, fuck the mayor, and fuck their stupid policy, practice, and pattern.
There are children in the room.
Yeah, I'm a child. And I'm offended that the goddamn situation of motherfuckers doing these type of shit continues. Right, Southers? I'm an American, Native American, motherfucker. And damn shame am I gonna stop and prevent. No, I'm gonna enforce. I'm an enforcer, so there's not a pussy or a twat. I'm a real man with balls like Donald Trump, 45, when I voted him into office. And look at what he's done. An excellent job with Ice Ice Baby. Now, if government in Washington cares about illegal immigration, then do something about it. Fuck Alex Padilla. Fuck Jimmy Gomez. Fucking morons. And if anyone cares about immigration, especially today, then stop using people as pods, as slaves, taking your kids to school, feeding your kids as they babysit, guarding your fucking homes. That's nonsense. When I sat in the federal court with David O. Carter and heard the CAO talk about homelessness, fuck Matt Zabel, fuck the city of Los Angeles, and fuck LASA, and the 4 fucking bitches of the board of supervisors that made me homeless. It's your job and duty to do what we, the public, demand. And in my closing argument for the record, it's right here in my hand for you. All about homelessness. God bless America. God bless Trump. Thank you, 70-year-old Donald Trump, because that other dumbass Biden did shit.
Thank you.
Next, we have Betty Lane.
Excuse me, young lady. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. What items would you like to speak up?
I'd like to remark on Chief's report, agenda items, and public comment, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Okay, first off, I appreciate Chief's report over everything that LA has been going through. It breaks my heart of all these negative protesters. I also support all the donation items on the agenda. Now, Chief, I've gone over this before, but I'm gonna do it again. When you have an upper command that has no common sense, so is very, very smart, they need to be in a strategic group such as the new Public Safety Metro Police Department. You know, when First Division, I had told Chief Troy at the time, the issue with the gang unit was out of revenge. And that was back in September 2024. And the truth will come out if you don't look at an internal review. It was revenge, but he didn't listen. There are times when people from the outside looking in know what they're talking about and how to fix it. Those who caused this mess have already been terminated as they should. The upper command needs to be reinstated and back at the division where they were respected, appreciated, and loved. Morale needs to come back. Who has made a big difference in connecting with the community for the better? Please, please do the right thing and fix it. The answer where very smart people in command, they need to be where they're helpful. Even if it's going to Harbor Division. When you were first elected, I was so thrilled, and you were great answering my emails until I brought up the issue of the gang unit in February. Now, for some reason, you don't answer any. Apparently, you're lacking decision-making skills. God bless everybody, and God bless the LAPD.
The next speaker, please, Peter Gray.
That's me. So we have some new faces in the room, and I'm gonna tell you the story about how I beat a criminal case that Heidi Soto, the very city attorney, lobbied against me for simply speaking out against her political allies, which are in fact the cult of Scientology. Not only did I beat that case, not only was I acquitted of the charge, right, because it was clearly frivolous, and I got her on a recording. I got her on a recording at a public meeting where she admitted that she knew it was frivolous, she knew it was not a priority, and she admitted to doing so as a favor to Scientology, because who's this guy from the East Coast that comes as a tourist all the way to California to fight the case, win it, no convictions, no crimes, no fines, no nothing, and to hold her accountable? I have visited every agency at this point and filed various complaints. And I even was denied the ability to file a police report regarding the various criminal activity, not only of the city attorney herself, but of the 5 cops involved in my case, whose serial numbers I've laid before you before, and I have new serial numbers today to present before you on people who I'm waiting for a couple of things. First of all, I filed a complaint against all 5 officers with Sergeant Lee Perry here at the headquarters. That was 2 weeks ago. How come I haven't gotten my CF numbers? Where are my CF numbers? I wrote the damn complaint for you. I videotaped the damn thing. Where's my CF numbers? I want to make sure their names are officially registered on those complaints, and I want those CF numbers. So I better see those CF numbers. Next up, we have the actual officers at the central station where I was trying to make my police report against Heidi. I haven't asked for a PPA yet, but let this be my official request for a PPA against Heidi Soto for the criminal acts to which I was acquitted of the charge and to which she committed all along the way, obstruction of justice and various other activities. So I spoke with Detective Rank 3, by the way, not just a rookie detective. Rank 3, serial number 37452, Quintanilla. He denied me a police report, essentially giving me the middle finger, telling me to go kick rocks, and will not allow me to file a damn police report. I want Heidi Soto's name tied to an incident ID, and I want that damn incident ID number, just like every other member here, and every member of the public has the right to file a police report. Not only that, though, it doesn't stop there, right? There's 2 lieutenants this fool admitted to colluding with in the back to rejecting me my ability to file a police report. We have Mathis, serial number 30400, and Stetter, serial number 35831. How deep does this go? And do I need to be a cop to start holding you guys accountable? Maybe I will, Jim. Maybe I'll see you on the other side. Who knows?
Next, we have Jill. Jill, you're on. Move on to the next.
Next speaker is Audit LA.
Gonna go over the mic? Yeah.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. Good morning. I want to first of all thank you for trusting us with a peaceful permit to protest peacefully the Church of Scientology. It was on Father's Day, and it was absolutely amazing. It was everything I said it would be: peaceful, joyful, loving. We got people who grew up there or who are were there for victims who were escaped, like Nora, Laura, Vanessa, and others, were able to come and speak their minds, sing, and be able to reclaim a part of their lives, like their strength, that they can go back and say, I survived you. I survived this hellish place. And it was done with love and dignity. We have a scroll here today that we laid out, and it has 209 names of children who survived, who have come forward as survivors, who are willing to put their name on a list. Many of them, though, are not with us anymore. They couldn't handle the effects of, what they went through. Many committed suicide. They have one of the highest suicide rates. But we honor them, and we have that list we would love you to see. It's a beautiful scroll made by Liz Gale, a former Scientologist, and her brother is the first name on the list. He committed suicide. And that is the hardest thing to even think of, but she is putting her pain in her art. The officers that were there to protect us did a great job, and they were very sympathetic, and they listened to people like Nora and Laura, who were trying to explain to them what Scientology really is. And I believe they heard us. In retaliation, though, Scientology they moved our porta potty down the street. They came to my building, knocking on my neighbor's doors, saying that I got fraudulent protest permits, and asking all kinds of questions. They even went to my door. They called my family member, my daughter, okay, and is harassing her, scaring her. I'm being fair gamed, and we are being followed. I'm having people put pictures of whoever I'm with on the internet and doxing us. And this is ever since, we're just going with this permit. We were being followed and watched at restaurants. I'm going through a lot right now to have this, because I am going to speak up forever until Scientology there's no more children in Scientology, until these human abuses are done. I'm coming, and I'm begging you, Chief, please get them off of your CPABs until these things are resolved. I beg you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Glenn.
Yes, hello, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, yes, what items would you like to speak on?
All of them, please.
3 minutes.
You all have made me come here for the first time as an adult. And I have a challenge for you, this commission. Prove me wrong. I feel like you're all in your best form of performative politics. I have listened to what I've heard today, and I feel like I'm in another universe. I understand, and I want to recognize the challenge you face. And I in no way defend anyone who dropped bricks from bridges on police cars. Those are not the peaceful protesters we're talking about. If everyone who went in the insurrection on January 6th doesn't represent all of Make America Great Again, those people don't represent all of the protesters that have been marching throughout Los Angeles and throughout this country. So again, I challenge you, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that you're not all cowards up there using process to not just simply tell us, hey, we are investigating, we can't go any further, but we have seen, yes, that a police officer shot a rubber bullet in an Australian report. That we have seen and know the officers who, in another widely viewed clip, saw a protester who I personally saw get shot with a rubber bullet in her head. And she was peacefully protesting the entire damn time, and blamed the people around her for why they couldn't get her medical aid. There are multiple instances like that. At least acknowledge which ones you are aware of, that everyone has seen. Then maybe we have some faith in this commission. Because right now I have absolutely no faith in you whatsoever.
2 weeks ago, you gave your written complaint for the OIG
Yes.
to me, so I gave it to him. I don't work for the OIG.
No.
So
Yeah.
we have the OIG here and the
Yep.
Professional Standards Bureau,
Yep.
their internal affairs.
Yep.
They're gonna talk with you.
Okay.
So
They'll take your new complaint, but somebody from our office took your written complaint 2 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
So I'll follow up with him. It was Nylon, right?
The one that I
Seals.
talked to in person here at the main headquarters was Lee Perry, tall black dude.
Oh,
I
okay.
talked to him in person,
Yeah, it was
and I followed the
new
complaint.
sergeant.
Yeah, he's a sergeant.
Black guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
We'll take it.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you. Appreciate it.
My partner,
Hi.
Sergeant Robletta.
Hey, how are you? So just in case I forget, these are the guys I tried making a police report with. And denied me outright, and I have it on video.
Have you reported this one yet, or not?
This is the same complaint I have. So predominantly what I'm trying to get here, it was a complaint primarily of malicious prosecution, which is very clearly the case, minimum. And then the fact of the matter too is that
And that complaint's against the city attorney.
this is the city attorney, and then I have complaints against the officers involved in the case, the 4 responding officers, and then the detective on the case in which I was prosecuted for. And so I haven't actually gotten my CF number for those 5 officers, which I spoke to Sergeant Lee Perry on 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so that's the one I have issues with, as well as when I went to Central Station, because I know how it works. Each division has jurisdiction over the areas. Given that she works here in downtown, that's Central Station about 2 miles away from here. I went there to file my report, waited 2 hours to talk to somebody, finally talked to Detective Quintanilla, explained to him everything in about 2 minutes flat. I gave him a copy of all the written complaints as well. He went, spoke with 2 other lieutenants, outright denied even taking a police report. And I know how this works, right? The police report is nothing more than just that, a report. I told them very clearly, all I expect is to simply accept the report, generate an incident ID, whatever you guys do afterwards. I have no hand in, I just want the incident ID number, and then we can both move on our separate ways. Whatever follow-up may or may not happen afterwards, out of my hands. I'm not asking for anything other than just the acceptance of a police report. That was denied.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, go ahead. What is your name that you, filed the police report? or
My
the
actual real
complaint?
name.
Yeah.
So that would, my first name is Enri, E-N-R-I, and then my last name is Marini, M like Mary, A-R-I, N like Nancy, I. And then on the complaints that were written out as well, it was,
What was your last name again?
so marine, like the word marine, but instead of a E at the end, it's a I.
So M-A-R-I-N-I?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, you said you made this 2 weeks ago?
The the officer complaints I made 2 weeks ago to Sergeant Lee Perry. The police report itself was made about a little over a week ago, and that was at Central Station.
Do you mind if we,
Absolutely
record it?
not. Go ahead, I'm already recording, so.
Okay, so today's date is June 17th, 2025. Present is myself, Sergeant Elena, serial number 40468. We also have my partner, Sergeant Robledo.
Serial number 34492.
And then from the Inspector General's office.
Last name is Arevalo, A-R-E-V-A-L-O. First name Jaime, J-A-I-M-E. Serial number N6333.
Okay, we have a complainant, Emery Marini, E-M-R-I is his first name, Marini, M-A-R-I-N-I.
It should be, in the first name, E, N like Nancy, so Echo November, Richard Indigo.
E-N.
Correct.
R-I, then Marini, okay. Got it, okay, that's important. What's your date of birth?
July 15, 1994.
July 15th, 1994. And then you said you made a complaint with Sergeant Lee Perry 2 weeks ago.
Correct.
And that you haven't got your CF number for that one.
Correct. The complaints were against the 5 officers involved in my criminal case.
Criminal case, okay, were they, your detectives, or can you just briefly?
Sure,
give, like, a-
yep. So there was 5 officers total, 1 detective, 4 responding field officers.
Okay. And then, what was your, just if you briefly, like, your
Sure,
concern
yep,
about-
I'll explain the incident. So the 4 responding officers were divvied up in 2s. 2 responded initially on June 16th, 2024 at North Catalina Street, intersecting Fountain Avenue at approximately 1 a.m. I can't remember off the top of my head their serial numbers, but I know their names. One is Fernando Galindo, and the other is Garcia.
Where do they work?
Both are Northeast Station.
Okay.
And that's a good question. I should clarify, all 5 officers are from Northeast Station.
Okay.
The other 2 officers responded at a later time on the same date of June the 16th 2024 at the same location. Those two were Barajas and I believe it was Marcos.
Okay.
And like I said, both of them were also from Northeast Station. That time that those two officers responded was approximately 3 p.m., June the 16th, 2024.
Okay.
And then the last officer, which is the detective assigned to investigate the criminal complaint, is Ishmael Peinado. I forget his serial number. I think it's like 402118. I can't remember exactly, but I know his name is ISM like Mary, AEIL, and then last name spelled PEIN like Nancy, D like Delta, O.
Okay.
I might have butchered the first name, but I know the last name for sure is spelled like that.
Okay, and do you know when you filed this, this complaint, about when?
So the one with Sergeant Lee Perry was the 2nd of June 2025, approximately 1 o'clock, here at the downtown headquarters station.
Okay. And then, what's your contact information?
So my email is the best, info@filmthepoliceusa.com.
The police
USA.com.
at USA.com.
No. It's info@filmthepoliceusa, one word, .com.
Okay. And is that your primary email?
Yes.
Okay. What about phone number?
Email is better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the only email that you prefer to
Yep.
get info on?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna verify that complaint, which I believe we do have in one open complaint for you in the
Okay.
system. And yeah, I can actually give you that CF number right now.
Yeah, if you have against the officers, I'm guessing that's what that pertains to, the officers.
I have to go and check to see exactly what it is, but
Okay.
I know that one's under your name.
Okay.
Either way, I'll email you the complaint receipt.
Yep, sounds
or
good.
that directly to this email.
Sounds good.
And
what is that CF number?
25-001709. Okay, so the complaint that you haven't filed is what we also want to take a complaint for.
Which is the one I made with Sergeant Lee Perry, you're saying?
So I believe that one was taken.
Okay, so that's that one. Okay.
I'm gonna confirm if that's gonna be it.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that that's the one.
Okay.
But you mentioned.
The police report, yes.
Yes.
So, yes. The police report essentially is, at the very least, against Heidi Feldstein Soto.
Okay.
And my allegation is as such, that I was prosecuted selectively and maliciously for an incident to which I was not the only individual taking part in, and I was acquitted of the charge at hand due to no merit. And so that's the primary allegation. I mean, other secondary allegations I have at the very least, of which are against, similarly against Detective Peinado, who,
Detective who?
the same detective assigned to the case, Peinado, who also knowingly and even admitted on his own police report, there was no evidence on any damages. There was no evidence of any ownership of the property at hand, which was alleged to be vandalized. Falsely stipulated on his own report that I was physically violent and had assaulted a Scientologist, which literally never happened because there was not a single Scientologist on scene at any time, the 1 a.m. time or the 3 o'clock time, yet still continued in from what I recall in the report, under 2 weeks, filed for support in a declaration to the city attorney's office to have charges be brought forward onto me.
Who did that?
Penato,
Panada.
yes. And even signed support of an arrest.
Was charges filed?
Charges were filed. It was a one count, and it was the only charge. It was one count misdemeanor vandalism. I think it's PC 594.
Do you have a report number for that?
I don't have it off the top of my hand, but yes, as part of the police report that I received during discovery, it was the actual report generated by the complaining party, which was a Scientologist.
Okay.
That name of the person is Alexander, normal spelling, Scott, normal spelling, Irvin, Ervin, normal spelling.
Okay, and when was the date about that time
That was
or the
the
incident, I should say?
correct. Yep. The date of the filing of the police report by Alexander Scott Irvin was approximately 5 p.m. on June the 16th, 2024, at the Northeast Station.
Almost 1 year ago.
Yes.
Okay. And when were charges filed on you?
So the actual charges themselves were filed within 2 weeks of the police report being submitted by Alex. And then I received the actual summons early July. And then my arraignment was on August the 15th of 2024.
Okay. And I'm just curious to know why you're coming forward now and you didn't comply.
I wanted to make sure that I actually beat the case first.
Okay.
To actually have a legitimate claim.
Uh-huh.
It was, I mean, I knew this was gonna be the outcome, but I wanted to make damn sure. And I actually have proof to back it up.
And when was the case dismissed?
This was for 2nd of May, 2025.
Okay. Okay, and then I want to go back to the where you were prosecuted selectively. You mentioned that you were, so that's all related is to this case, that?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, everything is related to this case. The complaints on the officers, the police report, complaint against Heidi and Penato. And part of the discovery I received was such that there was no official logs and received of dispatch logs for any of the responding officers. It was admitted that no such records exist. So no call logs, right? No CAD calls, no audio recordings of any sort, leading me to reasonably believe that these were personal calls made direct to these officers because I've seen them respond to other incidents involving Scientology. And I'll give a specific example to back that claim up. The two officers, Galindo and Garcia, who again, I can't remember their serial numbers, but on my written complaint, I made sure to list them all. There was an assault about same time period, I want to say on the 19th of June, 2024. A Scientologist named Lydio, spelled L like Lima, Indigo, Delta, Indigo, Opera. Lydio Rainaldi, like the word rain, and then the store Aldi, A-L-D-I.
okay,
Approximately 6 o'clock on June the 19th, 2024, Lydio, completely unprovoked, out of the blue, myself and another activist were standing on the sidewalk of Elmont Hubbard Way. Lydia Rinaldi came out of nowhere and assaulted and battered the activist. She managed to get away. He fled onto the immediate adjoining property owned by Scientology. That property's address is 4820 Fountain Avenue. And the activist, as well as several other members witnessing the scene, called LAPD. The two responding officers were Fernando Galindo and what I can only imagine, I'm reasonably inferring here, to be his partner, Garcia. And I can't remember for the life of me on what his first name is, but again, on my written complaint, I have his serial number Garcia serial number as well as Galindo's. They're the ones that responded. It took 2 hours, over 2 hours, where the two of them entered the Scientology property while we, as members of the public, stood outside and waited for the outcome. A PPA was requested officially by the activist. The arrest was made. Over 2 hours later, he was never charged. Lydio never had any criminal charges brought forward onto him.
Lydia was the one that had the PPA put against him?
Correct. Lydio was the Scientologist in this case that committed the assault and battery, actually put hands on the activist. Not just their phone, but actually put hands on their physical body.
Okay.
And
The
so
arrest was made, but charges
were never filed against them. He was also released, I want to say within 6 hours of the arrest.
Okay.
He was released very early on. His booking information, I can't remember, but if you look up his name, it's there. The booking information is there.
Okay. And what is your opinion on why you think the charges weren't filed?
A reasonable person, and my own opinion is that from every act I've seen, not only just in the past year and a half, but of dozens of court cases, I know for a fact there is direct collusion. Not saying every member of LAPD, but there is absolutely 100% collusion with different members of LAPD, both high up and on the field, to enact the political will of Scientology and keep them shielded. That is an absolute fact. As far as, do I know absolutely every single John and Jane Doe? No. There are absolutely, though, people that are in LAPD colluding to make that a reality.
Okay. And then, in the public comment, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard you say that you tried to make a report, but it wasn't accepted.
Yes.
Was that related to the past complaint?
This was related to the police report I wanted to make against Heidi and Penato that was denied at Central Station.
Okay, so Detective Penato.
Yeah.
And who's Heidi?
Heidi Soto, so her full name Heidi Feldstein Soto, is the current Los Angeles city attorney.
Okay. And did you directly speak with her, or?
So I've actually met Heidi physically at a public event in, I want to say, early March, where she was invited to be a public speaker at the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. There's a live video you can actually see for yourself on YouTube that it was a public event. They had a public flyer blasted to the public, and it was at a public rec center. And so Heidi spoke at that event. I talked with Heidi, and I asked her about what her opinion was of the different Scientology activists and regarding my case. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know what I looked like. But she did talk about my case. And she admitted, I think it went something to the following, and I have the audio recording to which I've shared a link containing not only that audio recording, but the written complaints as well as the discovery and everything we've discussed here so far, including the things I mentioned in my public comment.
Okay.
She admitted there that she knew the case was frivolous, it was never a priority, and she had always known, at best, it would go into, what's it called? Not discovery, but it's where you, diversion. That's what it is. She said at best it will go to diversion.
Okay. And then can you briefly speak about the report that you spoke with Detective Pinedo about, and like what report exactly was that?
So I never talked to Detective Penato at all. That was the detective assigned to investigate the criminal complaint brought up by Scientologist Alexander Scott Irvin.
Okay.
I've never made any contact with Detective Penato.
Okay, so who declined the police report that you were, I know you mentioned Heidi, but.
So, yep, so when if you're talking about the filing of the police report against Heidi and Penato, the individuals that denied my ability to file a police report were 3 officers. They were all from Central Station, and those officers are here. I spoke directly with a detective rank 3, serial number 37452. Their name is Quintanilla, and the spelling is there for your own viewing. And I video recorded that incident. And then the other two officers that also denied the request was Mathis, serial number 30400, who's a Lieutenant 3, I believe, and then Stetter, spelled Steiter, serial number 35831. And like I said, all three are from Central Station, and I want to say that was about maybe a little over a week ago, something like that. Yeah, about a week ago.
And this is, the report that you wanted to make a malicious prosecution.
Yes.
And I'll just read for the recording, the business card from D3 Quintanilla 37452, is dated June 5th, 2020, June 3rd or June 5th? Looks like June 5th, right?
Yeah.
June 5th, 2025 at 14:50 hours, subject responded to Central Station requesting crime report, naming city attorney as suspect, quote, malicious prosecution, referred to State Bar and IGs. And then we have a second business card, that lists Lieutenant Matthews, serial number 30400, and Lieutenant Stetter, 35831. Okay. That was on June 5th. Okay. And, is there anything else that you haven't told us that?
Through the discovery process, through a misdemeanor case, there's an event that's supposed to happen, and it did happen, called a discovery compliance, where formal and informal requests are formally acknowledged by the court in making sure that both sides have received all discovery, and any outstanding requests that they might have for discovery be addressed. At that discovery compliance, it was again repeated on the record that hard evidence, which was requested on police reports, call logs, body-worn camera footage of the responding officers, those records do not exist. And by records, I mean all the aforementioned, both call logs, police reports, and body-worn camera, neither by any of the officers. All officers, as seen on my video of them, you can in fact see they do have body-worn camera footage. And the particulars of the body-worn camera footage that was requested, along with the dispatch logs and the police reports, were pertaining to the lead-up of the officers arriving on scene, interactions of the officers which they alleged to have had with Scientologists, and then circling back to confirm, as they said, having spoken with Scientologists to address my concerns. The other thing that's very important to note is all four responding officers made it very clear that I had not committed a crime. They were not going to arrest me. And, okay, when confronting them on an issue of having a valid permit, and by having I mean Scientology having a valid permit to block the public right-of-way, all four officers had the same exact narrative as if rehearsed to a T. They arrived on scene, immediately jumping to the point and saying Scientology has a permit to block the public right-of-way on North Catalina Street. I challenged them and demanded to see a copy of this permit, which is supposed to be publicly accessible, and asked to see if they had a copy. Their narrative then began to break down quickly. It went from, we have a copy, we're not going to show you. Scientology has a copy, they don't need to show you. They may or may not have a copy. We don't know. I continue to challenge and explained I know the following to be true. On any special events permit, if there is such a permit, it's posted on the Bureau of Street Services website. I checked for the date in question on June the 16th. It did not exist.
2024. Okay.
And that information is included in that package that you?
Yes.
Okay.
But not only that, in August, early August, I want to say first week of August, which is also included in the written packet I gave before. In early August, and I can give you another one. I have a spare in my backpack. I have no problem doing that. In early August, through pleading on public comment that myself and many other members of the public have done to the Board of Public Works, the city actually issued a formal notice to Scientology on all of the complaints I'm having before you today, ordering Scientology to remove all of their illegal barricades. And they didn't stop on barricading just Catalina Street. They barricaded Catalina, they barricaded Fountain, and they barricaded L. Ron Hubbard Way. The city ordered them to remove those barricades in August. They did not comply. They knew they were served that order, and they did not comply until about late March 2025. They were never prosecuted. An LAMC code of blockading the public right-of-way is a criminal misdemeanor. They were never prosecuted in any such way, neither fine.
And that was in that package as well, sir, that you?
Correct.
Had, okay.
The order from the city, which will show you the actual ID and document number registered to the record, and you can verify with the city as well.
Okay, this is part of that complaint that was generated after you turned in the package, the 25-001709?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
on June 16, 2024.
And we confirmed that's the complaint that
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. Okay.
Um,
Yes. So I will send you that receipt so that you have the official copy of that. And then I will generate the complaint for today.
okay.
And just to kind of sum up with the one that's specific today, we're alleging against Detective Pinedo for admitting that there's no evidence of damages and then false statements for in his.
Yes.
Is it his, what report?
This is the narrative report and other investigatory reports that he generated as part of his duties to investigate the complaint. The other item I wanted to bring up, Michael Ventura, an officer with the LAPD, on early June the 2nd, 2024, and I have this email copy as well, printed out physically. Michael Ventura made it a point to contact various other high-ranking LAPD officers within Northeast, and I believe one of them was also from another station I can't remember the name of, but I know Michael Ventura was the sender, verified that he had spoken to various high-level officials at Scientology over at the North Catalina Street location, and explain to them in no uncertain terms that they cannot barricade the public right-of-way without a permit, and that what they're doing is a violation of the First Amendment right onto not only the activists that were there, but members of the public at large.
Was that email included in the package, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so it's in there, we can take it.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that'll be all under 1709.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing you should know is that in all of Ishmael Peinado's investigative reports, there is zero mention of any of the responding officers. There is zero mention of my interactions with the responding officers. There is zero mention of Michael Ventura's correspondence.
Sorry, we didn't ask you if everything about Detective Pinado, if that's in your packet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what you're alleging against him?
Yes.
What about the false statement?
This is a male.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so including the false statements.
Including the false statements against me, and you can see for yourself actually on the report, on his investigative report, where he puts it.
So just, if I may,
Yeah.
just to summarize, most of the information that you spoke about today is in that original package that you turned in for the other complaint, correct?
Yes.
So, but the new allegation that we're talking about today is that you went to the station and you were told by these other employees and department employees that they were not gonna take a report?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Which is
That's
not
an
in the packet.
which is not in the packet. Correct. Correct.
Okay. Did they, was their answer to you that, and I'm just asking because I see this on the card,
Mhm.
were they directing you to this, to the state bar and the IG's office? Was that their response to you when you were asking to make these reports? That's what it says in the card.
Yep, that's what it says on the card.
Okay.
When I talked to them, it was a denial of a police report.
Okay.
And I tried to make a complaint on the denial of the police report. They said to wait at the station. I waited about maybe another half hour. And then at that point, it had been so long, I just decided to leave.
Okay.
Okay, I think we have everything, so it sounds like everything is in the 1709, but we will generate the new CF today for these two business cards and that denial of police report. I will email you the receipt for 1709 and the new complaint that's generated today.
Okay.
Hopefully before the end of the day.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay, if not by the end of the day, for sure by the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
Okay?
thank you.
All right, thank you, and we're going off, time is 11:04.
All right. All right, sir, well, we got you the number.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And hey, you never know, I might see you on the other side. I might be wearing blue one day. Blue or black, depends on the division.
Take care.
You guys want this closed?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, take care.
Thank you.
I just gotta grab my backpack.
Protects and serves. Shame on all of you.
Yeah, it went good.
First off, Ida Calanche, I guess. So glad each of you up there are so excited to double down and remain up on that podium and defending your bloodthirsty piggies. Errol and Rasha in particular, and thank you for some of the most silly goose speeches I've heard from you yet. To be extremely clear, your piglets incited violence. Your piglets shot people point blank with rubber bullets in the head, groin, and chest. And the poor piggies who were caught in the middle. Have you seen the videos? The gleam in their eyes that isn't caught in the middle, that's excitement. Excitement to brutalize. That's joy in trampling, joy in shooting, joy in watching, joy in surveilling. Your piglets were armed to the teeth. And Junior upset with the weapons like CS gas were blown back at you because you know how lethal, painful, and damaging it is to be hit with less lethals. You trampled people atop horses as the slave catchers you continue to reveal yourselves to be. And for months, you sat atop your little desk up there saying time and again that you do aid ICE, you don't aid ICE, you sometimes aid ICE. How is entirely unsurprising that on June 5th, when no pig cars lined an entire block because your pigs were aiding an ICE raid. This isn't your first, this isn't your last. You took hundreds of people across this city this weekend. Like Megan mentioned, you took kids, you took mothers, you took parents and fathers and brothers and sisters, and we exposed you for this months ago. And since we did, you've expanded your ability to harm tracking drugs. You have pigs in the street aiding ICE. You have pigs walking the street aiding ICE, driving the cop cars, and you already knew that your automatic license plate readers had been used to facilitate deportations. And so, of course, again, you decided to expand them. 17 new cameras, nearly $250,000 so that LAPD can do a better job helping ICE deport more people. You're spending another $20,000 on a seesaw renovations, a community safety operations center, a real-time crime center, so that you can watch, track, and surveil more. You talked about a copious amount of time, all of you, about violent versus peaceful protesters. So why did you shoot rubber bullets at peaceful protesters? Why did you tear gas a baby? Why are you using ALPRs and real-time crime centers so that you can gather facial recognition data, tattoos, clothing of young kids and protesters, so you can criminalize them, hunt them down, and hunt their families down on a new monitor, a new screen? Thank God you can watch in sparkling resolution as your foot soldiers fire bullet after bullet into a crowd of kids, and then you can find the faces of those kids and their families after the fact. CSOC and real-time crime centers are ragrims. Let me repeat myself. These past 2 weeks, you mounted a counterinsurgency against the people. LAPD treated last weekend like a military
coalition people that haven't gone up yet? Did Mona go up yet? Yeah. Okay. Gigi? Okay. Alara's here too?
So one of the things that we say to stop LAPD spying is that it's not a moment in time, but a continuation of history. So as you can see, the performance has begun. The language around after action report, the language around review, the language around assessment has begun. And that makes you wonder, what we have talked about it always, that what is the uselessness of this useless goddamn body? Because it's a rubber stamp pass-through body. It wasn't like 5 years ago, George Floyd, 2021, 3 independent assessments had to be made. Outside bodies coming in, doing their job, something that they're supposed to do, right? Let's even go back track, 2015, 2016. Outside independent bodies had to come in. Black Lives Matter, talking about the specter of murder of black people all over the city. Let's go further back, 2007, May Day, MacArthur Park. Outside independent body has to come in and review the actions of the police. The fuck are these people doing here? Let's go back, 2000, the Rampart scandal. You know, the DOJ had to come in and say like, okay, what the fuck are you guys doing? They were gonna sue them as well. Let's go back, 1992, Rodney King riots. Where were these people? Where was the police commission? That has been around since 1926. Let's go even further back, 1965, Watts riots and Watts uprising. But what's also interesting, that the commissions were led by former CIA directors. McCone, Watts, right? Webster, 92, and on and on and on. So this is the function of this body. It's a pass-through body, and we have to understand and recognize that. But we only come here to expose and disrupt. Expose and disrupt and build that power to abolish this system. This is what we do. Jim McDonald's, every time somebody asks him about immigration enforcement, he goes back to 1979. Barragan is supposedly talking to some of the nonprofits who are deeply complicit in this thing. Somebody should ask him, does he know what a CSOC is? Does he know what CopLink is? Does he know what Crime Tracer is? Does he know what Peregrine Technology does? Does he know what Fusus One does? Does he know what Flock Safety does? Does he know what the role of Palantir has been? Does he know how vast the social media surveillance is? Does he know since 1979 how things have advanced at LAPD? And in that letter, Megan, that you said, that we have mapped out that this is a pipeline to deportation? Information sharing. They talk about personnel and resources while they staff the fusion center, where they are sitting right next to each other. Does Barragan know about the record management system and how the nodes are connected through Crime Tracer? Does Barragan know about the National Data Exchange that ICE uses, and the NCIC and those connections? So this is not even incompetency, this is the uselessness. This is the uselessness, and this is what we have to understand. The city council ain't gonna do shit. It's the protesters. It is us the people, who will bring this shit down.
What's on today's agenda isn't about safety, it's about laundering power. It's a steady stream of private capital underwriting public surveillance, all passed off as mutual donations from the Los Angeles Police Foundation. But let's be clear, these are not gifts. They're investments in racialized control funneled through wealthy white homeowners and sanctioned by this commission. $242,000 for 17 ALPR cameras in West LA. This is policing on demand for the Cheviot Hills and California Country Club HOAs. Communities that remain materially insulated from the very state violence their money enables. ALPRs don't just track license plates, they generate a live archive of movement, location, and pattern. Data which LAPD has already lied about sharing. You claim only 5 local agencies access it, but the truth is it flows to regional fusion centers and federal entities like ICE. So let's dispense with this sanctuary city theater. It's surveillance for the rich, displacement for the rest. And $20,000 to furnish and upgrade the Topanga Police Station's Community Safety Operations Center. You're literally interior decorating the LAPD's command post for spatial domination. These CSOCs don't just watch, they strategize. They scan, assess, and deploy. They operationalize racialized suspicion into tactical response. This is counterinsurgency with a new paint job. And let's not forget, LAPD is expanding its drone program out of these very divisions. You're building a technological dragnet bit by bit. Drones, license plate readers, predictive policing, all stitched together through a regime of data extraction and interagency sharing. the city becomes a test site as people reduced to subjects under perpetual surveillance. And then another human trafficking summit. How convenient that the same department criminalizing sex workers, migrants, and killing them, murdering them, Linda Becerra-Moran, now postures as their savior. The logic is consistent. Invoke moral panic to justify expansion. You're not combating exploitation, you're instrumentalizing it. And this has all been said before, but let me say it one more time so hopefully it gets through your thick heads. How do you sit here and talk about protester violence while the LAPD is fracturing skulls, trampling people with horses, and firing crowd munitions into heads and groins? Let's talk about what a street medic treated in just one day, all inflicted by LAPD, and mostly said already. But someone with a traumatic brain injury and a head laceration, someone whose finger was hanging by the skin, a broken leg, a broken hand, multiple people needing stitches, an ear split wide open, people blinded by tear gas, others with goose egg-sized welts bleeding down their faces, and by the end of the day, the medics ran out of bandages because people's clothes were soaked in blood because of the police. What a grotesque distortion of reality to equivocate that to anything a protester has done, and I prove what you've been saying all along. The state will always treat resistance as violence and state violence as peace. And you are lying to the public to cover up for a militarized force that maims and brutalizes with impunity. The asymmetry is not just real, it's calculated, and we will not let you rewrite that narrative. And what are you overseeing? What are you reviewing? You represent every single lie LAPD feeds you and call it accountability. You nod your heads and sign your names.
Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa. Ganja's room.
Good.
But they're not calling Zoom.
Oh.
There's no other.
There's Zoom callers like Nora, there's people like Nora who's waiting a long time to talk, Nora.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Jill.
you. We've gone an hour and 15 minutes. We're going to conclude public comment today, and we're going to take a 2-minute break until 11.
Russia, who's your boss work for? Who's Jones Day work for? You talk all that shit about Trump. Who does your fucking law firm work for? Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump, right?
Russia's a fucking sellout.
True. Remember when you moved to this country from Cairo? From fucking Egypt and Pico Rivera? Your family would have been targeted too, Russia. They would have been targeted too.
Take
Don't
a
forget
break.
that, Russia. Don't
Take a
forget that.
break. Don't forget your era.
They're gonna take a break.
Just keep running for public.
Where's Mona at? Oh, she's back there. Okay.
Let's make sure I'm not rolling you, right?
No, you're good. You're good.
Trying to keep things together.
They're gonna come back, but not for to look at the media. Laura, there'll be another chance. It's not for city council. Everyone's so proud of you.
Where's your gym buddy? You can't leave your gym buddy like that. They gotta get a workout too.
Fuck you, Jim.
Yeah, no, thank you. This afternoon. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
I want you to know
Got
that.
it?
Yeah, I just want you to know that
A bro with news. No, I'm kidding. A cat with news. How's it going, man? Doing good.
They own that street and
Of
they've
course,
never
but like
allowed.
getting up there and thanking them for the permits and stuff, I just feel like it throws people under the bus.
No, it's because they've never granted the permit. They've always violated that.
I know,
Oh,
why are you
yeah,
asking
sure.
them for a permit though? They're the ones
I would love
helping
to sit.
them.
I would love to sit and talk to you about it if you'd be
Yeah.
willing. And like, hear me out. I hear you out because it's just strategy. It has nothing to do with everything else. It's just fighting
Right, and I guess I
Scientology.
would just ask before we
It's
talk,
only
if
because
you
it's
think
L. Ron
about like
Hubbard.
what the effect of that is on the people who don't get permits and who don't stay
Yeah,
completely
our people I know.
compliant.
All right, I'm gonna cut this off and then see you guys outside.
Thinks they own L. Ron Hubbard away, okay? And